What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm Jeff Nowak coming at you for today's episode of Inside Black and Gold. As you'll see, Steve is not with me today. Steve is recovering from some sort of ailment, some illness. He's on bed rest. So you're stuck with me. Just for a programming note, Mike Haas, the voice of the Saints, joined for the final two segments of the actual podcast. So that check that out when it posts tomorrow morning. This is going to be kind of the opening segment. So I'm going to tease, just to be clear, I'm going to tease that Mike Haas is going to be on the podcast, and I'm going to kind of lead into it, but you're not going to see that, right? So as always, remember, this is the raw version of the podcast, but you're going to get some good stuff here because I went through and I clipped out the all-22 for every Jameis Winston throw from the opener against the Bucs, which, the first three quarters wasn't pretty. So we're going to go through some of that. I don't think, DA pointed out something that I think was fair is I don't think the blocking was necessarily as bad as it seemed in real time. And it's going to be more about communication than just straight up getting beat off the ball. Although, we did see, Cesar Ruiz did get beat badly a few times. But I'm just going to vamp for a couple more minutes because I did schedule this for 6. But yeah, so we're going to go through that and I am going to show it and kind of annotate it live. And we're just kind of going to all watch it together. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. So stick around. Jerry, you changed your YouTube photo. What's going on? I almost didn't recognize you. Oh, there it is. He's got the 26-10 cake. Look at that. What a guy. What did we witness in the fourth quarter? We witnessed the Falcons falconing, if you will, if you want to use a verb. So this is something that I don't need to say on the actual podcast or this segment of the podcast because it's going to be in the later one because I talked to Mike about it, Mike Haas. But let's just to answer Jerry's question in the beginning here. Let's just go through some of the Falcons lost all of these games. Obviously, the Patriots, they were ahead 28-3 with 2 minutes and 38 seconds left. They lost that game, the Super Bowl. They had a game they lost against the then San Diego Chargers. They were ahead 30-20 with 6 minutes left in the game. That one's reasonable. That's probably the most reasonable of the blown leads. But if the Saints, it's not that unlike the Saints-Giants game last year. So you can give them a pass for that, right? It happens. What doesn't happen, they were up 17-0 with 12 minutes to go in the third quarter against the Dolphins. They lost that game. They were up 39-24. They had a 15-point lead on the Cowboys. This was 3 years ago with 4 minutes and 57 seconds left in the game. A 15-point lead with 5 minutes to go, and they blew that game. Right? That's what happened in the fourth quarter. Here's one. 26-10 with 6:22 left against the Bears. Blew that game. It was the same lead they had against the Saints. 24-7 with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter against the Bucs. And obviously 26-10 against the Saints. And there's honestly a worse one. You had 24-6 last year against the Saints with 8 minutes to go. And they should have lost that game. The Saints gave it back to them. But Saints rallied from 18 points down. And it would have been the record had they not allowed that 50-yard pass to Cordero Patterson. But, yeah. So to ask your question, what happened? The Falcons falconed. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. We're at 6 o'clock now. We've got about 70 people in here, which is really cool to see. At 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. Not exactly prime sports talk hours, but let's do it. So I'm going to lead into this again. Just a reminder, Mike Haas is going to be on the final two segments. I recorded those already. But this is the first segment. So I'm going to intro the show and tease that interview. It's not going to be on this actual video. So don't get mad that, you're going to have to go and listen to the podcast, and I'll post some clips. I have some video from that, and I'll post those throughout the week. So you'll get those. But anyway, there you go. So without further ado, let's get this started. Again, and just in case anyone's arriving late, I have clipped out all of Jameis Winston's throws, pass attempts from week 1 against the Falcons. And we're going to just go through them together and kind of look at, what we saw, get some takeaways, and and it might not be the most audio engaging experience. I'm going to have to explain a lot, so keep that in mind when you're listening and watching. But we'll see what happens. This is kind of a work in progress. I want to see how it goes, and if it's successful, if people like it, I'll probably keep doing it every week. So let's get this started. Game face on. There we go. Welcome in, Saints fans. It is Tuesday afternoon. The Saints are 1-0. The Falcons are still the Falcons, and we're going to kind of dive in to a lot from that game. We had a couple days to digest it. Now we're going to react to it. I am Jeff Nowak, WWL digital sports producer, and obviously host of this program. As you haven't heard his voice, you haven't seen him on the YouTube channel. The last couple of podcasts, Steve Geller is feeling under the weather, so send Steve your well wishes. He's bedridden today. Hopefully we can get him back later in the week. For he's questionable, but we'll see. We'll see if he can shake that tag and get back. But for today, I do have a special guest coming in the back half of the show, or the second and third segment of the show. We have Mike Haas, the voice of the Saints, who, he had a heck of a time calling that bizarre game that felt like it ended 5 different times. And we talk a lot about that. We talk about his standouts on offense, his standouts on defense, what he thinks about the game going forward, what he thinks about the team going forward with a matchup with the Bucks. It was a lot of fun, it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, this is going to be weird to edit because I want to make it sound like I'm not recording this after. So let's do that again. We're going to talk about, his standouts on offense, his standouts on defense, what he thinks about this team going forward facing the Bucks. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stick around for that. It's going to come after the first commercial break. But in this first segment, I'm going to fly solo here, and I'm going to kind of do a live film study of, I clipped all of Jameis Winston's throws, and we're going to kind of go through it. So this is live on the YouTube channel. If you're listening, it might seem a little strange, but we're just going to see how it goes. We're going to see if anyone likes it. If it's unsuccessful, we'll try something else. If it's successful, maybe this is something we can do every week. Either way, let's kind of get it going. If you're listening to this and you're like, man, I wish I could see this. I wish I could watch the tape. Go check out our YouTube channel. It's WWL Sports. Ring the bell. We're still kind of figuring out the schedule, so it is a little all over the place in terms of when we record and how we do this. But we're going to try to nail down a more regular recording time, recording days, so that you can keep up with both the podcast on the audio apps and the podcast on the YouTube. But let's get this started. I'm going to share this first. Before we get into this, I did want to highlight what Dennis Allen said about the offensive line specifically, because coming out of that game, I was loud saying, this was awful. This was awful blocking. This was awful protection. I give Jameis a lot of credit for avoiding turnovers and not, making bad decisions because he was under duress. But I think going over the tape, we did see him miss a few throws, miss a few reads. I think he got happy feet a little bit because the pressure was so intense at times. And, I think he's going to get better. I think there was a little rust involved on both the pass catcher and the quarterback side. But we're going to get into that. But this is what Dennis Allen had to say. And he said that, the blocking wasn't as bad as you might think. At least that's what he said after going over the.
Actually, I thought the pass protection was actually pretty solid overall. We had a couple of miscues in terms of identifying on the protection. And there was a couple of plays where maybe we a little deep in the pocket, maybe we held on to it a little bit. I mean, here's the thing: when you talk about pass protection, there's a ton of different variables that go into it, and typically the first thing is everybody starts to talk about the offensive line and things of that nature, but there's a lot of different elements that are involved in that. Receivers running the proper route at the right depth, quarterback getting to the right depth, getting rid of the ball, backs in protection. So there's a lot of different things that go involved in that. I don't think we were as clean as we needed to be early in the game, particularly in the first half. But I felt like, as the game went on, I thought we got a little bit better.
Coach, knowing you're.
So yeah, I think there's a few things going on there. One, he's not entirely wrong, right? I mean, the protection is a way more complex thing than just saying, okay, you 4 guys go and block those 5 guys, or sorry, you 5 guys go and block those 4 guys, and it's all going to work out. The quarterback's going to stand back there, he's going to throw it. You know, there's complex blitz schemes, there's communication that has to happen. You have to know who you're going to double team. You have to know who's going to pass off who to who. The running back needs to know where he's picking up the blitz, what lane he's responsible for. The quarterback has to be setting that. He has to be identifying the mic. He has to be identifying where the hot route is, where the blitzers are coming from, where the pressure's coming from. If you are overloaded anywhere, he needs to set that protection. And I think when you saw the offensive line struggle the way that it did, a lot of those things did not go right. So it's more than just saying, okay, this offensive line is overmatched. They don't have anything, right? So I appreciate what he said there, and I think Dennis Allen is correct. I also think does not behoove a coach to throw its offensive line under the bus after week 1, right? And you're going to the quarterback is always going to be the most put upon in terms of responsibility, and so that's where you're going to center your critique. And that's Jameis is going to accept that, right? He's going to say, you know, I could have done more. And I think there were elements. When you go back through it, you'll see that. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Cesar Ruiz needs to be better in one-on-one matchups. And I think you're going to see them kind of shift a little more of the help his way. But you know, it's never good when you have to do that. So hopefully this was kind of a 1-game anomaly, and what we saw in the preseason starts to show a little more for him. But either way, let's kind of get into the plays. So now I'm gonna pop my head in here so you can see me talking. If you'd rather just see the full screen view and not see me talking, let me know. I think it's kind of weird to hear someone just talking out of the ether. So for now, I'm going to keep my box over here, but you know, if you guys don't like it and you'd rather just not see it, let me know. If there's an overwhelming majority who would rather just hear my voice and not see me talking, we can do that. But just let me know either way. Let me know on Twitter, whatever. But okay, so this is the first pass of the game. And what you're going to see a lot of here is, you know, bluffed cover 2. So when you're talking about cover 2, you have 2 deep safety. So you're going to bluff middle of the field open. But in reality, Jameis saw a lot of cover 3 and cover 1. The middle of the field closed, which forces you to have to attack. You know, when it's cover 1, you can attack these zones. You can attack the top and the bottom here. You can use 7s. You can get to the edge. But when it's cover 3, you know, you're really limited in what you can do in over the top, but it does allow for a lot of options in the middle of the field. And I think in this game in particular, you saw Jameis struggle to identify the late change in the secondary. And it's not something that he can't do. He did it much better later in the game. It's just first game of the year. You didn't get many preseason reps. You know, he hasn't played since week 7, week 8 of last year. And I think you had some rust and the reads were a little slow. And you'll see that in a lot of these situations. There are people open here, right? There's space here. This throw can be made. Michael Thomas is open, but as you can see, someone gets through. You do have a rush, and you know he's not able to kind of take that time in the pocket. And this is where, when you see this happening over and over again, this is where later in the game, you know, there's really not a ton you could have got done here. You could have made a very difficult throw. He pulled it down and he ran with it. And you can be critical of Jameis for, you know, maybe being a little slow on reads and maybe being a little off target on throws. But I think this play is an example of, you know, everyone tells me I'm this turnover machine. Everyone tells me that I make all these terrible decisions, and I'm just going to eat this ball and pick up 3, 4, 5 yards on the ground because it does not make sense to take a risky throw at this point in the game. At this point, it's 0-0. You know, you're just trying to make positive strides, and I think this was the smart move. But when you spend the entire game on the run, you know, it starts to impact you. So, we don't need to look too much at this one. So we'll go to the next play. Again, so you can see there's no disguise here, but it is some cover one. And you can tell it's cover one because you have a man on the outside. And again, this is a situation where you get pressure really early. Oh man, I went all the way back. See, this is the all right. Let's see it again. You get pressure in really early. He's not able to kind of go through his reads. This wasn't a great throw, but this is a very difficult throw. You have to keep it outside because if you leave this ball inside, it's going to get taken to the house, right? So you have to be careful there. And so the only place you can deliver the ball is right here. This is a tight end. He's Juwan Johnson. He's an athletic tight end, but he's still a tight end. So, the expectation is he can go get it. It wasn't a perfect throw. It was his second pass of the game. And, it's a situation where I think you're trying to avoid turnovers. Got play action here. This was the first pass to Michael Thomas that, it kind of looked like they're a little off. Mike's coming out of his break. And Jameis has already thrown the ball, right? He gets a lot of contact here. He's fighting through it. And it's a situation where this is where the defense is trying to throw you off your timing. He's trying to kind of make you have to adjust in real time. And I think that down the road, as you see these two guys, and even in this game, play more together, they'll get a better kind of read of, okay, this is where he's trying to beat man press coverage. And so you need to give him just an extra beat to do that. But in this instance, the ball is thrown before he's able to kind of turn and locate it. The ball's already out of Jameis' hands. And you want to throw with anticipation, but you need to allow the receiver to get there. And this is what he didn't do here. This is a high ball. He could have caught it, but you need to, if you're Jameis, you have protection here and you want to just give him that chance to kind of set. And he wasn't able to do that. And, it's tough. It's tough because you want to get the ball out there in time. You don't want to be late. And it's just an example of, later in the season, I don't think he misses that throw. Later in the game, he didn't miss that throw. Again, more cover one, right? Or more single high safety, middle of the field closed. So you got to do something on the edges. This is an example, as Dennis Allen pointed out, your protection is not just protection, right? Sometimes the receivers don't do their job right. Sometimes the running back doesn't do their job right, and they hold the ball longer than you want to. This is an example of, I don't know what the heck happened here, but I can assure you they did not design this play for Mike Thomas and Alvin Kamara to be running right next to each other down the field. But that's what you have happen here. Like this is not a play design. You do not design plays for two pass catchers to be within 2 yards of each other down the field, right? And so if this is where you're considering going with the ball, Jameis is already on his back. He already got tackled. But if you're getting pressure and you're trying to get the ball out, this is not even an option. So you are here looking at Taysom and I think that might be Landry. And that's just, it's not, actually, hold on. Is that Callaway? No, that's Kamara. Let's see. It's tough to tell in the all-22 kind of who is on it. Let's see. You know what? That is Callaway. So this is Callaway up here. It's not Mark. It's not Mark. Alvin. I got confused because of the dreads. But yeah, so this is Callaway and Mike Thomas running the exact same route up the field. They are both on a go. And so one of those guys messed up. Right? One of these two players is not supposed to be here. And I would guess it's Callaway because I think what this play is trying to do is use kind of that natural rub and that leverage to get Callaway to the post and then Thomas coming in underneath him so that you might clear that space and have a free shot. And you can tell this is where Jameis is looking. That's where he wants to go. Somebody screwed up. Anyway, so you get sacked here. Oh, no, this is incomplete. This is the pass to Taysom. So you can't really do what you were trying to do because there was a mistake in the wide receiver room, right? So the protection isn't perfect, but you're holding the ball longer than you want to because there was a mistake downfield, and so that's tough. Moving on. Same drive. This is a blitz that wasn't picked up. Jameis gets the ball out. He doesn't make a bad decision. But yeah, this is a blitz that you just didn't pick up. So you're double teaming the DT there, the defensive tackle, and no one picks up the either blitzer, right? You went empty, so you weren't able to use a back to pick up that blitz. And well, actually, no, you didn't go empty. So yeah, the back got caught up in this wash, right? So that's an example of, someone's got to set that protection. Someone's got to ID the blitz and set your back where he needs to go. The back's also got to identify it. He's got to pick up one of these blitzers, and he wasn't able to do it. The other question is, okay, there's a hot route here, and you didn't hit it. So where was it, right? Who were you trying to get this ball to? So you see pressure? No one's open, right? This is tough. So Jameis does the only thing he can, and he throws it away. Another cover one or single high. Jameis dumps it off to Kamara. Now, this is something that I don't think you saw enough. You want to see more little dump offs to Kamara. I think Kamara was dealing with a rib injury. I don't know when he got the injury, but it was definitely affecting him later in the game. So, you got to wonder how limited he was, right? That 2-point conversion to Mark Ingram late in the game. That seems to me like a situation you want Alvin on the field, right? In a 2-point conversion to tie the game, you want Alvin on the field. So I think, his rib injury was definitely impacting him to the point that he couldn't play and that he couldn't play to the level he wanted to in this game. It's just a question of when he got it. So this is an example of happy feet, right? So you've already gotten hit several times in the pocket, and Jameis bails way too early here, and he misses a big opportunity. So this protection is actually not terrible. Like, you can step up here, and you have options, right? You can either stand in the pocket and deliver a ball, or you can step up and you have options. I mean, this was not a situation where there were people that were blanketed. You can throw to any of these receivers and at least make a play, make something happen. But this is an example of, I think, you're getting hit, and you're just trying to make a play. You're trying to stay on your feet, and you weren't able to do it. So this was something that I think was corrected in the second half. There's no reason you're trying to run for this. You let the receivers do their job. You don't really have a lot of time there. Again, it's just, you got to pick a side, right? You either want a guy who's going to take risks in the passing game, or a guy who is going to protect the ball and take calculated risks, not put the ball in harm's way. And so people are saying, he needs to get the ball out faster. He needs to get the ball out faster. Well, if you want to see a guy who's going to throw a bunch of interceptions, that's great. But I think Jameis has heard from enough people telling him, protect the ball, make better decisions. And so a better, safer decision when you have an elite defense is to eat the ball and survive, live to play another down. And I think that's what a lot of this was in the first half. You had good protection here for probably the first time all game, and he's able to find Jarvis. James Hurst pancakes a dude. Everyone holds up. It's only a 3-man rush, I think. Let's see. Let me go back. Now you got a 4-man rush. You hold up. There's a blitz on the outside. Alvin picks it up. I'm sorry. That's the wrong play. Sorry. This is the play. Yeah, so it's 4-man rush. Everyone gets picked up. Alvin leaks out, and you're able to find Jarvis downfield. And so, yeah. There's another play where you saw They're showing cover 2. And I think this is what you'll end up seeing for Jameis a lot is whatever they're showing, you're not going to see it. You're actually going to see them roll into something late. And so they're showing cover 2, and then, no, it's cover 1. Survey, survey, survey. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. No one's really open, right? But, you have a clock in your head here. You have a clock in your head, and that clock speeds up when you are expecting to get hit, right? He has space here. He has time. He can slide in the pocket. He can extend, but he's running. He's running for his life. And, you understand when you get hit 4 or 5 times in the pocket, all of a sudden, that clock, whether it's a 2-second clock, whether it's a 2.5-second clock, shave a half second off of it because you're anticipating rather than kind of trusting. And that's what the story of the first half was. This is late in the half. In the offensive line, it's holding up a little better at this point. This was that throw that nearly got picked off. I think this was probably a bad decision to throw this ball. So let's just look at the coverage. So again, you're seeing this kind of late shift where they're going into single high late. And so he thinks he has, I think Jameis is looking at this and thinking, okay, I have cover 1. I'm going to have space on the edges. But this DB here just kind of sinks into the zone. And I think you're keying on Jarvis Landry here. And so you need to work across your progression. And he doesn't do that. But he identifies Jarvis Landry. I think he just feels comfortable throwing to Jarvis Landry at this point in the game. And so he just gives him a chance. But you're probably just, if you saw this again, you're just eating it because this guy is looming. He's lurking, waiting to pick this off. And if you wanted to pick one throw that was a dangerous throw, this was it. It's still a play where he hit with a DB would have had to made a spectacular interception. But yeah, this is the next play. This is the one that, when I posted it on Twitter, everyone lost their mind because this is the play that Cesar Ruiz gets kind of just annihilated by Grady Jarrett. And yeah, I think this is a learning moment for the Saints where you're double teaming and helping to Andrus Pete's side. But you needed to help to Caesar's side. And I think, yeah, that's something that you can fix. You can fix that, and you'll fix that by helping to Cesar Ruiz, rather than Andrus Pete. So this is into the second half. That was Chris Olave's catch, I believe. Yep, that was his first catch. And he does this little Zion walk. I don't know if you all have noticed this. He did this after his touchdown too. He does this little like duck walk after his catches, which is like the Zion thing. Okay. This is where Jameis is getting into a bit of a rhythm, right? He finds Chris Olave. He finds Jarvis Landry. The tempo is better. You're giving your offensive line a target. You're throwing the ball, and they're picking up better. This was an example of very good protection. So you're rushing 4, and you have a stunt coming in. Alvin sees it. He picks it up. Boom. And you're able to get the ball out to Mike Thomas, right? That's the timing. That's the continuity. That's just the communication that you need to see. Play action down the field. This is that first one that Jameis forced Mike to slip on. Yeah, I think somewhere Sean Payton is muttering about the wrong cleats. But this is also just a bad throw by Jameis. I don't know what he was, if he was trying to go back shoulder here. But it's not the throw, right? And I also think you're forcing the ball to Mike here when you shouldn't be. Because if you watch, I think this post route is going to come open. I think that's where you want to be, up the seam. And, you're trying to get Mike involved, and that's never a bad idea. But, you're throwing that ball where it is, because if you throw it in front of him, he gets either lit up or intercepted. There's another sack. This is an example where they didn't pick up the blitz. So you see what's got to happen here, right? One of these two guys has got to take the interior rusher, the inside rusher. It's probably Alvin, right? You're not going to have Alvin block an end. So I think this was an Alvin Kamara mix-up where James Hurst is going outside and Alvin Kamara is going inside. But you need to communicate before this play. If this guy comes, who's picking him up? And that's going to be on Jameis. It's going to be on Alvin. It's going to be on James. You got to communicate. You got to communicate better than that, and they just didn't. And so this guy comes in completely unblocked and eats Jameis's lunch. I say that too much, but it's what happened. Boom. And so that's an example of like what Dennis was saying. It's not just about winning one-on-one offensive line matchups. You have to be able to identify situations, get people in the right positions, and block the way you need to. And they just weren't able to do that in the first 3 quarters of this game. So this is something that, this is another one where they roll late. Jameis breaks the pocket. He throws it across the field. In real time, I did not like that throw. It was able to get them in the field goal range, and they got points out of it. But you're not going to make any fans out of your coaches by throwing it across the field like that. Look at that protection. Beautiful. Now, Alvin was able to make the catch. Darn. All right. Good protection. Blitz comes in late. I think this one is on Mark. So look at the back. Like this, you're in the hole. You're where you need to be, but he doesn't see the blitz. He doesn't know he's coming. Right? This should get picked up. There's no reason that didn't get picked up. It's on Mark, right? It's not on the offensive line. We see these plays and we assume the offensive line is what messed up. This is just Mark Ingram not doing his job, and he doubles down on this by making a nice play and getting downfield and then fumbling. This was one of the worst running back plays I've ever seen. I mean, the only reason he has the ball in his hands is because he threw an Olay block on a blitzer he didn't see. So he's coming in to try to help on this interior rush. But you got to see the blitz coming in the gap that you're supposed to be minding, and he doesn't. And so, yeah. And Jameis does a good job to get the ball to him, and then he fumbles it. And I said prior to the season that I had concerns about Mark Ingram in that RB2 spot. If you end up having to rely on him a ton, that's tough. 985 live. Do you think re-signing Murray today means that Kamara might not play Sunday? I mean, I think it's possible. I don't think you re-signed Latavius because he's going to be your Alvin Kamara replacement, because you could have done that a long time ago if you felt like that was the best route. But I do think it's just running back depth. And he's dealing with an injury. So if he misses time, you might need that extra player. But he's not going to be the guy who fills in. Mark is the guy who's going to fill in. And it's just Mark has to be better than that. Mark is a veteran. And, you can't be missing blitz pickups and fumbling at a key point in the game. You're in your own territory, right? This was one of the worst plays I've seen in a while. And, Marcus May kind of made it so it didn't hurt the team that much by punching the ball out in the red zone. But yeah, he's got to be better. There's another one where Mike slipped. I'm just going to let a couple of these roll. Get single high again. Nice play here. That's Juwan. So this is the start of that drive. This is the start of that 4-play drive that really kind of got the Saints in gear. And I thought Juwan, the trust that Jameis had in Juwan and the trust that the coaching staff had in Juwan to block, I thought was really telling. And it was probably, if you want a ringing endorsement for a guy, that's it. It's probably Kamara's best play of the game. That little check down there. That's how you got to use him. Here's that throw to Jarvis down the seam. Now this was a good read, good throw. So here again, you're finally, this is a point in the game, right? You wonder, so why does Jameis get better as the game goes on? Well, a lot of the disguise that they were running in the first half is no longer effective because you've seen it enough times. And this time, he's not going to get baited by that cover 2 look and that late roll into cover 1 or cover 3. And so he knows, okay, once Jarvis clears this kind of flat defender or this low defender, he's going to have that space. And so, he's able to throw with anticipation that he wasn't able to in the first half and just get it up the seam, get down to the 4-yard line. And then, this is just okay, you're going to cover Mike Thomas one-on-one. I'm going to make you pay for that. This nothing complicated here. It's just a fade. And, Mike does what Mike does. Nice throw. Great catch. Mike throws it in the stance. This is the 2-point conversion to Olave. And so on that drive, you started with Juwan up the sideline. Then you hit Alvin for 15 yards and a little check down. You hit Jarvis up the seam down to the 4-yard line. You hit Mike Thomas on a fade for a touchdown. And then you hit Chris Olave for a 2-point conversion. Those are the 5 weapons that you're looking at in the preseason. You're looking at as you get on the field. You're like, these are the guys who have to make an impact. Okay. So this is the next drive. This is also a touchdown drive. Not quite as efficient, but you start it with that throw to Chris Olave. It's good work. And here's another example of, what I think Jameis did well in the second half, particularly, was not, he has happy feet a little bit. He's bouncing around, but he's doing it in a way that, he's staying within the pocket. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's not turning his back to his receivers. He's just extending a play. And I think there's a Jarvis that he finds here. And yeah, I mean, that's a positive play, right? Yeah, it's just a hot route that he missed. That's fine. Get the ball out. Good protection. Gets it downfield. This is probably the best throw of the game that no one's talking about and the best catch. Again, you have cover 1 or you have single high, man-to-man on the outside. The offensive line picks up the pressure and you're able to loft it over the top to Mike Thomas. And so, yeah, when you're going against cover 1, when you're going against a single high, middle of the field closed, you want to attack these areas. And that's what Jameis is able to do here. That wasn't a slant, by the way. I've been told Michael Thomas only runs slants. This is a screen that didn't work. Another late roll, single high. It's Mike again. And this is where you start to see a rhythm with Jameis and Mike. And you start to identify the soft spots in this coverage. And that's Mike just settles in there and does a good job. Live to play another down. It's another Jarvis Landry catch inside the 10. So on all 3 of the Saints scoring plays, or on all 3 of the Saints scoring plays in the fourth quarter, Jarvis made a key catch to set them up. So he had a catch down to the 4, immediately preceding Mike Thomas's first touchdown. He had a catch down to I think that's the 8, immediately preceding Mike Thomas's second touchdown. And he had that 40-yard catch that we're going to see here in a minute to set up that game-winning field goal. So if you had expectations for what you might have hoped for in Jarvis Landry's first game, I think he exceeded them to a level that I wasn't anticipating. And here's another. You're going to play man-to-man with Mike Thomas on the outside. I'm going to make that hurt. Nice back shoulder throw, and if you can start to see these guys kind of develop that chemistry, you're going to be a lot happier with the results, and you're going to have, less frustrating early game performances. This is that 40-yard play, and You saw all day the offensive line was struggling. They're showing pressure here. And you're keeping in the tight end. You pick up the blitz on the outside, or you pick up the rusher on the outside. They don't send the blitz, and you pick everybody up. This is max protect. And you got 3 guys in the route combination, and for whatever reason, the safety is not working over the top on Jarvis early enough, and you're able to just make that play. That's just a ballsy throw in a big moment, and you got it done. This is the spike, the spike flag, and then so this is the play. When I talked about Jawan earlier, what really impressed me was that play to open the drive. So you have a tight end who can go out wide and make an impact on a go route. But then you also have a guy who can line up in the slot. And for Jameis, in this moment, this is 2nd and 20. You need 15 yards on this play at minimum. If you end up at the 40, you're probably kicking it from the 40 because you're going to be 3rd down and you're going to probably clock it. If you don't, then you have to go up and run a play with a running clock. And whatever happens after that, you're at the mercy of a guy getting out of bounds. Or, best case scenario, you pick up the 1st down and then you got to get up and clock it. And you're running out of time. So to have the confidence in Jawan, it's simple. He's just going to come up the seam and kind of break under. And this is where Jameis finds it. Well, about here. But either way, you wondered all offseason, what kind of impact Juwan Johnson could make. Can he get better? Can he be a more reliable tight end? We know he can catch the ball. We know he's a talented pass catcher. He's got to be a tight end. And I think that's where he was lost a bit last year, where he was still kind of finding his way. But this is just a great route. He uses his body to shield the defender, and, you get right where you need to be. And that set up that final kick by Will Lutz. And it was just a great moment, a great way to finish a game, even though it kind of got away from him at the end with the spike and both spikes I think were mistakes. I think the second spike, again, right after that play, you spiked it. And I don't think you wanted to. I think you wanted to run some clock. But that was, for a game to start that badly for a quarterback. And, I think after 4 drives, he had more rushing yards than passing yards. I think he had 8 rushing yards and 7 passing yards. You don't usually see that type of turnaround in game. You see that from quarterbacks that don't get rattled, right? You don't have that viral clip of Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, right? So, you want to see a guy start better. I think if you have concerns about Jameis at this point, it's not about interceptions. I'm so tired of hearing about interceptions. What you saw in this game was, almost an over hesitance, but he's not putting the ball in danger. So we can stop talking about 30 interceptions. I don't need to hear about interceptions from 4 seasons ago. But you want to see him identify protections and set protections better than he has. And I think last year you probably had an easier time of doing that with Teron, a guy who you trust to relay information and to make sure you're on the right page. This year you don't have that, right? I think McCoy is an excellent player. I think he helps greatly in that regard, but I think that's where the learning curve is for this offensive line, for this quarterback, for these running backs, is finding a way to communicate after not having Drew Brees. Now you don't have Sean Payton. Now you don't have Teron Armstead. So people have to step up and do that. And I think that's what you want to see change heading into week 2. So let's get a couple questions before we shift over and I bring on Mike Hoss, the voice of the Saints. We need a big back to wear them out. Need a beast mode. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you weren't blocking in the run game well enough. And I just don't know if, I don't think Latavius is a guy you're bringing in to get, a lion's share of the RB2 reps. I would like to see Tony Jones. If Mark isn't getting it done, I would like to at least see Tony Jones get that chance. He struggled as a rookie, it wasn't a rookie in his second year last season. And, I thought he recovered from a rough start to his preseason, and he earned that job. And I would like to see him get a chance at it. I don't think Mark has been great. He's supposed to be there as a veteran presence. If your veteran running back is the guy who's turning the ball over and missing blitz pickups and blitz assignments, that's a problem. So it's what Latavius got cut because he fumbled in the preseason. It was a similar situation. And it's like you have that guy because you trust them implicitly, and so he's got to be better. I think he knows that. Let's see. I think that's the first game. I mean, the first drive of the game. Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where I don't mind that not being called, right? But why you're getting away with stuff early in the game, and then on this critical drive, Marshawn Lattimore, Drake London is getting a star call against a star cornerback. That doesn't make sense to me. Dennis Allen said he didn't like the call. I didn't like it either. But okay, I think that's going to be it. Again, a lot of this was just for YouTube. I'm going to trim this down significantly, and it's going to be part of tomorrow's Inside Black and Gold. Make sure to check it out. The second and third segments are going to be Mike Haas. We're going to go through a lot, but I'm going to do a more traditional sign off. But just to explain. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for that segment. Stick around on Inside Black and Gold. We're going to be joined by voice of the Saints, Mike Haas, who's filling in for Steve Geller today. We're going to break down some of that craziness that happened at the end of the game with spikes and and penalties and 0 seconds turning into 2 seconds and all this nonsense. He saw it firsthand as he called the game alongside Deuce McAllister. Stick around for that on Inside Black and Gold. Make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks everybody for listening. All right. Well, so we have 138 people in here. There's only 10 reviews on Apple Podcasts right now. 10. I see 138 people in this feed. So if anyone uses Apple Podcasts and wants to go on there and just give us a review and a rating, I would appreciate it. Because, one of the things that drives me nuts is when you search New Orleans Saints podcast in Apple right now, we don't show up, and it's because we're not factoring in that algorithm. So if y'all can help me out there, I would really appreciate it. I enjoy doing these. And it's, I just like to see the numbers going up. And I think this is the biggest audience we've had on one of these live streams so far, at least consistently. We've been over 130. I think we had up near 150 at one point. So that's really cool to see. And Drake, I didn't see this earlier. Fake Traquan Smith is back. He eats Major Crow because he's hurt, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. All right, y'all. I think we'll be back at this, maybe tomorrow. They don't, the powers that be don't like us posting podcast episodes on Fridays. So probably record something tomorrow, something quick off the first injury report. We're going to talk to the players. We're going to get in the locker room tomorrow. So I think that's what we'll probably try to come back with. I don't know if we'll do it live or not because it'll depend on whether Steve is back to working order. But either way, look for that and make sure to check out tomorrow's episode of Inside Black and Gold with Mike Haas and Mike Haas. All right. Peace, y'all.